Hello, I'm Jim Curley, Chief Membership Officer at LIMRA Loma, and we're here today to welcome you to another one of LIMRA's Unplugged. Kartik, it's great to have you part of our programming.
Awesome, thank you.
And I know as Chief Membership Officer, I have a lot of questions for you.
Excellent.
As the head of technology here at LIMRA Loma. You know, over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, digital transformation has been the real hallmark of what's going on in the industry. And I know you come from one of our major members, a multi-line carrier, and you bring a great wealth of information technology experience with you. I'm wondering if you could help us understand some of the challenges that you were presented with at your last carrier.
There's a lot of digital movement happening out in the industry, right? And mostly driven by disruption. Now, disruption has primarily been in the P&C space. So if you think about self-driving cars, autonomous driving vehicles, insurance on demand, the sharing economy, so all of these disruptions have required all of us carriers to adopt new ways of doing things, right? And obviously this, for multi-line carriers, this has segued over into life, annuities, and everything else. But particularly in life insurance and in the group arena, some of the things that we see, what I call the CEP process, right? Underwriting is huge. I think by digitization of the underwriting process, according to McKinsey, you can save about 40% of an FTE, right? Which is massive. There is a significant amount of push to do automation in terms of claims processing. So towards the purchase of a policy and towards the payout, I think you see the full life cycle. There's an intense focus on automation and bots in terms of digitization.
Those are great examples. And we know, according to Loma and Gartner, 49% of North American companies really haven't started down that digital journey yet. And for them, that could cause potential disruption by the lack of activity.
Yes.
So as you think about it, you know, what are the things that companies need to consider when they develop a digital strategy for the future?
Yeah, so great question. Now, step back for a second, right? So usually when I'm talking to folks about digital transformation and digital strategy and a digital marketing strategy, I find people conflate the three, right? So you've got digital transformation, digital strategy, and a digital marketing strategy, and everybody conflates it primarily because it's got the word digital in it, right? So apples, oranges, and bananas, all fruit, but not exactly the same. So let's talk about that for a second. So digital transformation is fundamentally transforming your organization from the ground up. It's a cultural change and thinking about ways differently in terms of technology and how we operate and do things, right? So it includes things like agile, my personal favorite, cloud transformation, so people migrating their data centers over into the cloud to achieve the scale and scope that they need. You talk about things such as human-centered design and design thinking. You're also talking about bots and automation, artificial intelligence. So all of these things are intended to transform how we operate out in the industry digitally, right? Let's talk about digital strategy. A digital strategy is taking a company's goals, your enterprise goals, and figuring out ways to expose them digitally. These are intensely consumer-focused and customer-focused, right? And about 2 or 3 year pragmatic view of where you want to take your organization. These programs are intended for us to think digital first and then back into everything else, as opposed to today's world where we talk about our goals, figure out solutions, either developing new products, augmenting new product lines or existing product lines, and figuring out ways to then digitize it after the fact. This pivots the cycle on its head. And the third one is digital marketing strategy, right? So digital marketing strategy is intended to attract, retain, or entice new clients and consumers in an online forum. This would include everything from your social media presence, Facebook, Twitter, what have you, LinkedIn, to Google ads, search engine optimization, and things of that nature.
LIMRA research tells us that about 8 out of every 10 companies have something going on in the area of big data. Big data is everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's requiring all kinds of new skills, new changes in our companies. Mm-hmm. Share with us some of the things that our members are dealing with, and perhaps some ways that LIMRA can help them as they think about their quest for data and data understanding.
Outside of our employees and our talent, data is our most critical asset. The challenge with our most critical asset is we've assembled 100 years worth of data, and usually this has been due to organic growth, right? It's been in silos. which means data inherently wants to be surfaced to be able to be consumable for us to surface insights and analytics, which we are challenged to do the more siloed our data is, right? So the biggest challenge in the industry today, and companies have finally got onto it, and it started about 5 to 10 years ago, intense focus on data, intense focus on analytics, primarily because not only do we want to do reporting, which is a thing of the past, right? We could tell you exceptionally well what happened yesterday, but that's vastly inadequate, right? Is to be able to get predictive, and not just predictive, but prescriptive about business actions. So as a technology provider, I want to provide you, Jim, the business leader, an ability to make astute data-driven decisions, right, with a certain level of accuracy and confidence in the data and analytics that I'm providing you.
Recently, maybe 6 months ago now, LIMRA announced the formation of our Center of Excellence for Predictive Analytics.
Yep, very exciting.
And today we won't spend time talking with our marketing teams, our market research teams that are running that division, but from an IT perspective, what is that Center of Excellence all about?
So the Center of Excellence in Data Analytics is intended for us to be predictive, right? To get a lot more predictive about what's happening out in the industry, right? And again, with 100 years of data, we should be able to, and everything's cyclical, our life cycles are cyclical, right? But with 100 years of data, we should be able to accurately predict out what is going to happen in the future, and that's going to deliver superior member value as the trusted source of industry information, right? One of the things that we are doing with the Center of Excellence is we've partnered with them because they are the arbiters and they are the curators of most of our data assets. So their engagement with us is primarily on the data strategy and governance front. So we've partnered with them quite extensively. We're working with them on dashboards and essentially surfacing the predictive models that they are developing.
So what's one lesson that someone listening to our program today from the business side could take away from the discussion we're having about the importance of partnering with IT?
Yes, so two things, keep at it, primarily because data strategy and governance is not an overnight journey. Far too often what happens in organizations, Jim, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, right? Data strategy and governance is an intangible concept, right? You don't see reward and result right away. It's over the long arc of history.
100 years we've been collecting data.
100 years.
And we've had very specific protocols and governance agreements with our members around how we handle data. So we were well ahead of data management, but today the world's changed. Yes. And we couldn't leave this program without spending a few minutes on cybersecurity. Yes. And specifically, I'm sure our members are concerned that we are protecting their data through our strong cybersecurity governance and program deployment. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So a couple of things, right? Data privacy, protection, security, information security is of paramount concern to me, my teams, and our business partners within LIMRA and LOMA. We take that exceptionally seriously. To me, cybersecurity covers three main pillars, right? So the first pillar would be protection, right? So you're preventing threats, preventing cyber attacks from malicious parties. The second is education, which is absolutely critical. And the third one is regulatory and compliance, which is just as critical, but it's always been relegated to as an afterthought. Let's talk about protection first, right? When you think about information security, cybersecurity, and protection, everybody instinctually thinks about firewalls, your antivirus definitions, prevention of Trojan horses from hijacking your networks, perimeter defenses, defending data at rest, data in transit. The second critical facet, Jim, as you're aware, is education, right? So you can have the best defenses in the world, but the only thing separating you from being a protected organization and one that has just been breached is one click. We've partnered with SANS, which is our security education firm, and we take an annual certification for everybody from our CEO, Bob Kersner, all the way down. Everybody is mandatorily required to take those exams.
I just finished mine.
Congratulations.
And I took all the optional courses too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now you are a responsible defender of our security policies. The third pillar, and it's also equitably critical for us to consider, right, is regulatory and compliance. Data privacy and protection laws in each country or even each state make it extremely challenging to make sure you're handling data appropriately, are in compliance with the rules and regulations that are prevailing in that state or country. Europe has pretty stringent data privacy and protection laws. So it's not something that we need to be on top of, right? We need to be aware of, because you could find yourselves running afoul of those rules pretty quickly, and then you have to react and conform to new rules and regulations. A few years ago, we had the Canadian anti-spam law, CASL, right, which required us to update our systems and make sure we're in compliance. And now everybody, I think it's the end of May, it's GDPR, the European data privacy and protections rules and regulations. Now, these are all intended to protect the consumers, which is terrific. We need to do that, but just something for us in technology and business to be aware of as we apply in these regions.
Kartik, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, and it's so important that LIMRA members appreciate that not only are we the trusted source of industry knowledge,
Sure.
but we are the protected source of industry knowledge.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Jim.